He was a man of principles, always working to help his friends.
Take it easy.
But his greedy friends betrayed him and leave him to die. On that day, this betrayal broke his heart and put him on a path to revenge flooded with blood. Welcome back to Paramount Recaps. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The movie kicks off at the Ohio State Fair in Columbus, where we meet Parker, a British accented thief who's kind of like Robin Hood, except without the tights, and he doesn't bother with giving to the poor. Disguised as a priest, because why not? Parker leads a crew of criminals, including a mobster from Chicago, Hardwick, and a group of thugs who look like they just walked off a crime lord's profile. Their target? The carnival's cash stash. Parker sneaks into the security office, distracting the guards while the rest of the team, dressed as clowns, because who doesn't trust clowns, goes in for the grab. The guards are sitting on a pile of money from the fair's last 3 days. While they're held hostage, Hardwick sets a controlled fire, which, spoiler alert, he does not control. Meanwhile, the fairgoers are blissfully unaware, riding roller coasters and eating cotton candy, while a clown gang is pulling off the heist. One of the hostages starts freaking out, but Parker, ever the gentleman, tells him, "Relax, we're not killing anyone today." Tomorrow's another story, though. Flashbacks reveal that Hurley, a retired thief and father to Parker's girlfriend Claire, had suggested the heist. Claire thinks they don't know each other well, but in reality, Parker and Hurley go way back. Hurley even hooked him up with his dream team of clowns, led by Melander. You know, typical father-in-law stuff. Back at the fair, Hardwick's controlled fire turns into a blazing mess. Who knew clowns weren't great with fire safety? As the flames spread, the gang grabs over $1 million and uses the chaos to slip away. Carlson, pretending to be a fire chief, helps them escape. I guess when you have clowns, the next logical step is a fake fire chief. Later, they regroup in some creepy abandoned warehouse, because where else would criminals meet? Parker's ticked off at Hardwick for getting distracted. Apparently, Hardwick was too busy ogling firefighters to follow the plan, which led to him setting the fire near propane tanks, because nothing screams low profile like an explosion risk. The gang leader compliments Parker for his professionalism and suggests they pull off another heist. But Parker, like a guy who just wants to clock out on a Friday, firmly says, "Nah, I'll take my $200,000 and call it a day, thanks." The gang, being the shady bunch they are, doesn't appreciate his lack of enthusiasm for overtime. They plan to kill him for his bad attitude, but Parker, always a step ahead, fights back. He stabs Carlson and dives out the window of a moving car, because why not? After being shot by Melander, he's thrown into a pond. But, like a cat with 9 lives, or maybe just 2, Parker survives. Hardwick, tasked with finishing him off, shoots him and leaves him for dead. Good thing for Parker, a passing farmer and his family happen to drive by. "Look, honey, a bleeding man in a pond. Family road trip highlight." The farmer takes Parker to the hospital, where he wakes up to news about the fire at the fair. Knowing the cops are on their way, Parker decides it's time to make a quick exit. He knocks out a doctor, steals his clothes, because every action movie needs a good costume change, and hightails it out of the hospital. He even steals an ambulance on the way out because, hey, who doesn't love a dramatic getaway? He pulls over to patch himself up in the back of the van, like a DIY Medikit commercial. Parker's now on a mission to track down the gang that double-crossed him. He then heads to Memphis to rob a check-cashing place, because revenge isn't cheap, folks. After grabbing some cash, he's off to Houston to meet a friend of Hurley's who can hook him up with a new identity, because nothing says trustworthy like a guy who sells fake IDs out of a print shop. Despite Hurley's advice to let it go, because he's obviously never seen a revenge movie, Parker insists on knowing where Hardwick's brother is. He tracks him down in New Orleans, and after beating up the bar security, because why not, he learns that Melander and the gang are chilling in Palm Beach. Parker immediately warns Claire and Hurley to get out of town because, let's be real, he knows they'll be used as leverage. Meanwhile, in Florida, the gang is planning their next heist, but when they find out Parker is still alive, Melander loses his cool. Hardwick calls in a favor from his mob boss uncle, Danziger, to hire a hitman. Enter Kroll, a professional killer with a flair for the dramatic. Kroll first tries to kidnap Claire, but she's too smart for that. She slashes his tires and escapes, calling Parker in a panic. He tells her to lay low at a fishing camp, because that's where all action heroes send their loved ones. Parker, now on a full revenge tour, heads back to Houston to pick up his new papers, only to find more of Danziger's goons waiting. After some quick thinking, he forces one of them to shoot the others. Revenge? Check. New papers? Check. Later, Parker meets with Hurley, who tries to bribe him with money from the last heist, but Parker isn't fooled. He knows Danziger isn't the kind of guy to hand out cash to make things right. Nope, Parker's ready to take down anyone standing in his way, one clown at a time. Parker's got his sights set on revenge, and he's not interested in taking any hush money from these clowns. Instead, he's dead set on getting you. To pull this off, he heads to Florida, pretending to be Daniel Parramatta, an escaped convict from San Antonio. He's posing as a homebuyer, and real estate agent Leslie Rogers is there to help him. But before he dives into house shopping, Parker swings by to see Claire and suggests they call it quits. Not because he's over her, but because he doesn't want her caught in the crossfire. While out with Leslie, Parker walks past all these fancy houses without blinking, but he stops when they come to a rundown place that went for $1.2 million. Bingo. He realizes it's the hideout where Mellender's crew plans to lay low after their big heist. Leslie tries to bond with him over lunch, but Parker's too busy plotting to care. Later, Leslie's curiosity gets the better of her, and she checks the bank to see if Parker's making any moves. Spoiler, he's not. This leaves her scratching her head, especially since her car just got repossessed, and she's drowning in debt thanks to her sleazy ex-husband. Meanwhile, the hitman Kroll is on the move. He tracks down Norte, thinking he's teamed up with Parker, and takes him out. Back at Mellender's hideout, Parker sneaks in and finds their stash of weapons. He sets up a few traps and studies their robbery plans. As he heads back to his car, he runs into Leslie. She's clearly up to something, and Parker isn't having it. He gets all paranoid, thinking she's working for someone. She insists she's just being nosy and knows he's not who he says he is. They end up at a real estate office late at night, and she vents about her crappy life, offering to work for him if she can get a cut of the lip. Parker, not one to trust easily, asks her to strip to make sure she's not wearing a wire. She complies, and after confirming she's legit, he agrees to consider her offer. The next day, Parker brings Leslie into his plan, and she's all in for a share of the prize. He reveals Mellender's gang is planning to swipe $57 million. When Parker tells her they're going to rob a diamond auction hosted by Miriam Hopclinton, Leslie freaks out, thinking it's way too risky. But by this point, she's already in too deep. As the gang gears up for the heist, they arrive at the back gate of Clinton's massive estate, decked out in blue jumpsuits to blend in as event staff. Meanwhile, Parker drops Leslie off and heads to his hotel room, only to be ambushed by Kroll. The two go at it, and Parker manages to bash Kroll's head against the tub. Thinking he's won, Parker tries to walk away, but Kroll jumps him from behind, attempting to stab him. After a brutal fight, Parker tosses Kroll off the 26th floor balcony, but not before taking a few hits himself. Later, Parker swings by Leslie's place, only to find a nosy cop asking her questions about him. Leslie, trying to keep cool, notices blood on the floor and quickly sends the cop packing. Afterward, Parker asks her to use a payphone to call Claire since he can't risk going to the hospital. Claire shows up to patch him up and lets him know she's not going anywhere, even though he's trying to push her away to keep her safe. As Parker's healing up, Mellender's crew is gearing up for their big score. Hardwick is in charge of setting off the fireworks, and Mellender and his guys, disguised as firemen, break into the estate to steal the jewels. The police are all over the place, shutting down bridges and roads, but Hardwick causes a diversion on a speedboat, letting the others dive into the lagoon and escape. But when they return to their hideout, Parker is already there, lying in wait. Leslie, who's snooping around outside, gets caught by Hardwick, who then starts searching for Parker. One by one, Parker silently takes out the gang members. Mellender catches sight of Parker and tries to shoot him, but his gun jams. After a fight, Parker takes out Mellender, while Leslie grabs a hidden gun and shoots Carlson, saving herself. Hardwick tries to use Leslie as leverage, threatening to kill her if Parker doesn't split the lip. But when he pulls the trigger, the gun doesn't work, and Parker knocks him out cold with a shot to the head. After it's all over, Parker tells Leslie to hide the jewels in an air vent and promises someone will pick them up. 6 months later, Parker finally tracks down Danziger and kills him. A year later, Leslie gets her cut of the money, $24 million, delivered in 2 cardboard boxes. In the final scene, Parker visits the farmer who saved his life, and the old man starts to believe that maybe Parker isn't just a man, but an angel.